morning, everyone. A very warm welcome to both Dato Sahar from PERKESO as well as Rizal, Nainy from SME Corp. And thank you again for joining this very important session that organized by our organizer, Max Capital, as well as Money Compass, in conjunction with this SME e-fair. All right. And the topic today, we are talking about PENJANA, the short-term economy recovery plan. What have its implication to our business? As I'm from SME Malaysia, we face a lot of complaints from our members, as well as a lot of SME who are our non-member, have been feeling a big pinch and during this COVID pandemic MCO period. And we know that government has put out perhatian and now PENJANA to help the SME to recover the economy to a shortest time frame we can. I believe there are many other initiatives are also planned to be worked out. And as today, we would like to hear from the two very important persons in the PENJANA programs that will help our SMEs. So, okay, I would like to introduce Dato first. Dato, maybe you can talk a little bit about you and PERKESO.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Mr. Chin, the organizer, and nice also to meet Mr. Rizal, Nainy from SME Corp, and the audience. I'm Sahar, Darusman from PERKESO. Actually, I'm the head of employment insurance system, which is established during January 2018. It's just about 2 years plus. Today, I'm going to talk about the role of PERKESO during COVID-19 pandemic and recovery plan. Yeah, back to you.
Thank you, Dato. Next, we have Rizal. Can you explain a little bit about role of yours and also SME Corp?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chin, for having me here. And also to Dato Sahar, thank you. And I would like to say Assalamualaikum as well as a very good morning to all of you. As you know, I'm Rizal. I'm with SME Corporation Malaysia. I think most of SMEs know SME Corporation Malaysia, but perhaps I can give a bit of background what we do actually. SME Corporation is an agency under the Ministry of Entrepreneurial Development and Cooperative. So we actually been under the ministry since end of 2018 as part of the new ministry that we formed after the general election that was held in 2018. So our role is that we actually are the CCA. CCA stands for Central Coordinating Agency, which we actually look at and monitor all the SME development programs, not only for us, but other ministries and agencies as well. And there are about 17 ministries in Malaysia, as well as more than 60 agencies that have their own SME development program. Yeah? So we are the central coordinating agency that actually monitor the development and the progress, and we actually report back the performance and the deliveries, the deliverables of all these ministries and agencies to National Entrepreneur and SME Development Council chaired by the Prime Minister. So that's one of our roles. We also have our own SME development programs to help SME, not only in terms of the financial assistance, but also looking at things like training, looking into innovation, market, assess the market, and so we are actually for them to develop further when it comes to their business expansion. And end of the day, it's about contribution to the economy as well as to the export, but at least looking into the creation of jobs by the SME themselves. Yeah? So thank you so much, Mr. Chin. Back to you.
Thank you, Riza. Very good brief on what SME Corp do. I think we all should SME should always encourage to hook up with SME Corp to understand more what they can help us. But today, we want to talk about PENJANA especially, right? So I want to direct the first question to our Dato under PERKESO. What kind of, incentive or what kind of advantages that in store for the SME under the PENJANA with PERKESO right now?
Yeah, Mr. Chin, sorry. I think we have sent you a slide for my presentation this morning. Can you display that?
Oh, okay. You just sent this morning. I will ask the moderator, the organizer to put it out. Okay. Okay, go ahead. Is it this one? Dato?
Just now, not. I didn't see this one. The role of PERKESO during COVID-19 pandemic and recovery plan. Yeah, this one. Can you make it bigger? Right? Is it this size? Okay, thank you. During the pandemic COVID-19, since since late of March, middle of March and April, we have PERKESO has submitted a few proposals to the government. The first one is with regard to what you call it, employment retention program, and also followed by wage subsidy program. And recently, we also introduced a hiring incentive. All these will be benefited micro, small, and medium enterprise. Can we go to the next slide? This is to show you the retrenchment trend during the past 7 months. If you could see from the slide here, the retrenchment figure increased high. Last year we have around 40,000 people being retrenched, which is slightly higher than the previous 2018 figures. This year we already reached more than 70,000 people being retrenched, meaning it's double than figure last year. So by toward the end of the year, I would estimate the retrenchment figure could reach more than 120,000 people being retrenched. And approximately based on our data, about 37% of total people being losing their job or being retrenched are involving workers from small and medium enterprises who are registered with us. But if you don't mind, I would like to share with you, during this pandemic with the PENJANA and Prihatin financial assistance, we found out a lot more micro and small enterprise do not register with PERKESO. So when we don't have their record, that's a problem lies where we couldn't we don't have their record and difficult for us to disperse the fund from the government. So that's another issue. I think more than 10% of our members out of 100,000 enterprise who registered with us do not register with PERKESO. So any financial assistance from the government is very difficult for us to disperse. And then if you go to the next slide, to the next chart, based on our record, based on the contribution collection, there are 7.26% of this one. Enterprise do not contribute to PERKESO, meaning there's about 7% drop in contribution, mostly because of the lockdown and people could not go to their office to make a contribution. So next slide. Just briefly to share with the public, under Prihatin and PENJANA initiative, we have been allocated huge amount of assistance for the enterprise, all enterprise regardless of their size. The first one, as I mentioned just now, is the wage subsidy program. We are being allocated 19.1 billion. The intention is to avoid mass layoff and retrenchment and to ensure business viable. So in this context, workers who for small company, that is from one workers to 75 workers, we are giving 1,200 workers who earn below than 4,000 ringgit. And for medium This is our definition, nothing to do with SME. You know, for medium-sized company, that is 76 workers and 200 up to 100, we are giving 800 ringgit per employees. Whereas a very large company, 201 and above, we are only giving 600 ringgit. And in addition, the one for 3 months, and in addition, for the next 3 months, the government also allocated educate fund for also to assist the enterprise, 600 ringgit for 3 months. Total is 6 months until December. And the second one is the employment retention program, or known as ERP. We have been allocated 240 million, partly from government fund and partly from employment insurance funds. It is to assist workers who are required to go on unpaid leave. So we are paying per year 600 ringgit. This money to be credited direct to the workers from 1 to 6 months. But however, after 2 months program, we found out the application for this program, dwindling and trickling down. So the government closed the assistance, the program on the 15th of June. So currently, for the next one, the hiring incentive program, we also being allocated. The previous slide. Sorry. Yeah, for hiring program, we are being allocated 1.5 billion. This one is to incentivize employers to start hiring. Starting from 5th of June, for workers who age 40 and below, we are giving 800 ringgit for 6 months for workers being hired during since June this year until end of the year. And also for workers, for job seekers who are age 40 years old and above, we are giving 1,000 ringgit, and also for people with disability. And on top of that, we are also giving mobility assistance, 600 ringgit or 1,000 ringgit. 600 ringgit if the workers have to relocate to the new workplace more than 100 kilometers, and 1,000 ringgit if they have to relocate intra-region, for example, like from Sabah to Sarawak, from Sarawak to Semenanjung. This is just to cover their transportation and accommodation for first month. In this regard, they have to register with our portal, Future Jobs, and also for every worker they hire, they are entitled for additional 4,000 ringgit maximum to be reskilled and upskilled. And for the workers who attending the training will be given 30 ringgit per day. And the next one is for gig workers. We are giving, government has allocated us 50 million ringgit just to cover the insurance coverage based on the 70% from the government and 30% for the workers. Next slide, please. Okay, this is the breakdown of wage subsidies that benefited to small and micro enterprise. Based on our record, more than 70% of micro, small, and medium enterprises have applied and benefited from wage subsidy. But some employers are not complying to the condition to retain and pay of their workers. Not many. We have a total around 430,000 enterprise registered US, and a total of 320,000 employers has applied for wage subsidy, and 97% are from micro, small, and medium enterprise, and very small percentage from the larger company that is having 26 workers and above. So, based on our record, you could see from the slide, the total number of micro enterprise is around, that is workers 5 and below is more than 200,000, 205,000. Whereas the small enterprise, based on our own definition, 5 workers and 75, less than 75, so 210,000 enterprise, and 76.4% has applied for wage subsidy, which benefited about 2.6 million workers. So these are the numbers that potentially may be retrenched if government do not chip in to assist the enterprise in the form of a wage subsidy. So far, we have disbursed around 8.7 billion from April to June. And just for information, the wage subsidy that Malaysian government are giving is around 52% of based on the median wage of 2,300 ringgit, as compared to like other countries, 70% in Singapore and 80% in the UK. Next slide, please. This is some of the statistics with regard to activity within our portal, MyFuture Jobs. On the average, with regard to hiring incentive, we can see from June and July there are many job vacancies being advertised by employer, more than 146,000, if not mistaken, since June, since for the last 2 months. I believe many employers will actively conduct hiring in the near future. There are various vacancies here. We can see from managerial to elementary workers. And the top 10 industry that advertise their vacancies is manufacturing, wholesale and retail, professional, support service, accommodation, and etc. Meaning all industry having active vacancies to be filled up for the next few months. So from here, I would like to advise all SMEs, small and micro enterprise to medium enterprise to fully utilize the assistance from government in the form of hiring incentive. That is 800 ringgit up to 1,000 ringgit for a certain age group. This incentive is for 6 months, and employer are required to retain the employee up to 12 months. Thank you. Thank
you, Dato. I think it's a very good report and also explanation on what we have so far. And I'm particularly interested in the part you talk about My Future Jobs. I think that's very important. A lot of people will lose their jobs during this time. And but I think I don't know how PERKESO is going to put out some marketing effort to let more people know about this site. We will try to help at our end. I think a lot of people still do not know how to get access to use the facilities of My Future Jobs. All right.
Yeah, I think we will embark on the massive marketing for the next 1 or 2 weeks time throughout Malaysia. Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for a moment. We'll keep the question later. There are some questions coming in as well, and we go to Rizal. Do you have any particular thing you want to present, or you want to go ahead and give your some opinion on the incentive and also some? I know there's some grant from SME Corp. Can you explain a little more on that?
Yeah, sure. But before I explain what SME Corp have in terms of grants and other things that can help the SMEs, perhaps I give some perspective in terms of these SMEs per se, as well as the COVID-19 impact on SMEs. Perhaps I start with following the census that we did, by Dawson, that was in 2016. We have about 907,065 SMEs already in Malaysia. That was like 4 years ago. Every year, the compounded average growth for SMEs is about 7.3% average. So if we actually computed that, or perhaps we calculated that, by now we should be able to have about more than 1.1 million or 1.1 to 1.2 million of SMEs. So it's a big number, is a big number that actually SMEs in Malaysia that contribute to the economy. And recently, the contribution has been accounted about 38.9% of GDP contribution comes from SME, about almost 39%. So we expect that that was in 2019. For 2020, we will actually be based on the estimation that was given by Bank Negara Malaysia, where the growth of the national economy will be in the range of -2% to 0.5%. Whenever there is a based on the national GDP growth, then our SMEs growth will be impacted as well. Yeah. So we have done some surveys pre-COVID-19, during COVID-19, as well as post-COVID-19 as well. So from the surveys, we found out that a total of 95.3% of SMEs experienced immediate drop of sales in March 2020, which almost about 45% are facing more than 70% drop in sales. Is a big number to show that how we've been impacted. And the sales revenue, 13.2% will be recorded from this as well, showing that by April 2020, percentage of SME with no sales increased to 58.6%. So meaning the impact of this outbreak is really, really significant to SMEs. That is the message. And as well, we know that temporarily closure of business has resulted almost 80% of them having cash in hand that can only last less than 3 months. So the survey actually speaks by itself. It's a real thing, it's a real issue for our SMEs, especially looking at the cash flow. So perhaps what I can say, during this COVID-19, the government has come up with Pelan Jana Semula Ekonomi Negara. I think this is the initiatives that have been implemented so far, 40 initiatives with allocation of about 35 billion ringgit, of which 10 billion ringgit is a fiscal injection from the government. Yeah? And from that 40 initiative, 24 specific measures or 24 specific initiatives amounting 14.5 billion has been allocated for the SMEs. Yeah? So it's a big number. I think with the 1.1 or 1.2 million numbers of SMEs that we have, with 14.5 billion, it will definitely help our SMEs when it comes to cash flow and other things impacted by this COVID-19 pandemic. Yeah? And if you look at 14.5 billion ringgit that has been allocated, there are three elements or three so-called groups that we actually look into. The first one is people. I think Dato Sahar has spoke so much about how PERKESO can help the people. And from this 14.5 billion, 7.8 billion ringgit has been allocated for the people. Yeah? And the second one is to prosper the business. About 4.8 billion ringgit has been allocated for prospering business for the SMEs. And this includes the e-commerce campaign, Shop Malaysia Online, technical and digital adoption for SMEs, My Assist, MSME One Stop, and we also have all those PENJANA SME financing, PSF, PTF, PENJANA Tourism Financing, PENJANA Microfinancing, Bumi Putra Relief Financing. So there are many financings and support assistance that will be part of this so-called second element of prospering the business, amounting about 4.8 billion ringgit. Last but not least, we have another element where we say about stimulating the economy, allocating about 1.9 billion ringgit. These are those, for example, like the Technology Innovation Sandbox, art, culture, entertainment sector support, agriculture, food sector support, tourism sector support, which are the most heated industry from this pandemic COVID-19 is tourism sector. So in general, or perhaps if I would like to summarize, there are short-term recovery measures as well as long-term recovery measures that will be implemented by the government, by the ministries, by the agencies, as well as by the private sectors. Yeah. So what we need to know is that how effective of these measures, which rely mainly on the speed and efficiency. So from the government perspective, I believe there are a lot of assistance as well as initiatives has been put in place. Now is for us to look into how this can be actually measured in terms of the effectiveness. And for SME Corp itself, we have our own programs. For example, like the existing grant program, as what Mr. Chin mentioned, we have BizUp, which is Business Scale Up Program, also known, used to be BAP, Business Accelerator Program, where we actually give out grants as well as loans, soft loans. And the beauty of this BizUp now is that it's not just for the future projects that SMEs or MSMEs can apply, but also projects that they have done 3 months ago, meaning that they have done that project, and when we found it is according to the criteria as well as approving according to the procedure, then we can actually reimburse back in terms of the matching grant 50-50. But this is not only just the assistance that SME Corp has, but there are other things. As I mentioned, a soft loan through MIDF as well as SME Bank. We also have capacity building program. We have our business advisory support for us to advise as well as to give business consultation to the SMEs. And we work closely together with other agencies and ministries for us to make sure that our SMEs will be supported, especially during this unprecedented moment through this pandemic COVID-19. Yeah.
Thank you, Rizal. Thank you. Anything else, Rizal, you want to add?
Well, I just perhaps Dato Sahar can chip in if anything on the people part as well.
You're on mute. Can't hear you, Dato.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I unmute. Actually, based on the Rizal explanation just now, we could see there's a lot of assistance from the government, not only under PERKESO, but also from lembaga hasil, from bantuan sara hidup, and other initiatives that government has put in place. The problem after this, mostly we need to assess, how efficient are these assistance being delivered directly to the enterprise and to benefit them. Because what is the most important now is to keep our business afloat. Then apparently, because we are succeeding in flattening down the COVID-19 pandemic, now today we can see a lot of economic has fully reactivate and has started all over again, and we can see from the retrenchment trend in July, it's already declining, and hopefully August onward, when the economy is fully recovered, then Malaysia could move forward with a normal capacity. Just to remind all the enterprise there, especially the micro enterprise, please embrace the new technology, the digital technology for you to stay afloat and not just confined to only current business. You have to explore, to venture into other business, and to the other important part is try to involve all the digital things like marketing your product through digital medium, etc. That's the only way to move forward, because the world now are changing very fast and it's very competitive. You cannot stay too long in doing just what you have been doing for the past few years. Yeah, back to Mr. Sin.
Okay, thank you for your explanation. I think very important, both of you have said, measurement, effectiveness, whether whatever in place so far, right, have been able to effectively help the economy. Of course, we can't see it much yet. Is there any way that under your department or under SME Corp that you have your own assessment, or you have a joint assessment team with other agency to come up with some form of or report cards on what is happening after the implementation or after the, of course, of the PENJANA and the Perhatian so far? If any idea, any one of you?
Yeah, for PERKESO, we measure our success rate based on the recipient, how fast is assist financial assistance being channeled to the enterprise, and how much it sustain the employment instead of a mass retrenchment. That we can have some indication, instead of we expect some economies expected around 800,000 up to 2 million workers being returned. That is not true. It's not happening. For me, anything below than say 120,000 retrenchment figure is perfectly good for the country as compared to in the United States. Million of workers are claiming employment insurance every week. As compared to Malaysia, I think we are doing better. And in the future, I would like to measure the other success of what you call it, the recovery plan is based on the hiring exercise, because we have this incentive, 800 ringgit and 1,000 ringgit. If this is there is not many people are taking this incentive, even though too many vacancies being reported to us, meaning something is not right. Whether either the employers are not really have the intention to immediately hiring, or maybe some other reason, or because the workers, our job seekers are too choosy, because the wages being offered are too low, or they have to relocate to another areas. These are few measures that PERKESO would like to assess in the immediate future. And for information, the hiring incentive will end until December. So for the company who start hiring in December, they will be assisted until May or June next year. So there are a lot of time for all the enterprise, regardless of size, to come forward and apply our hiring incentive. I think it is a good incentive for the government and to stimulate employment, and for the economy also, for the enterprise to continue their economic activities. Thank you.
Thank you. Rizal?
Under the Ministry of Entrepreneurial Development and cooperatives, we actually, all agencies will need to report the performance and so-called the deliverables of all these PENJANA initiatives that been implemented by respective agencies. So we have a weekly report on that to our ministry, and I believe it will actually churn up to the federal as well. But I would like to actually emphasize that measures that need to be perhaps what we have currently is a strong framework of SME development to garner optimum results from various initiatives by respective agencies. And I mentioned earlier, this was reflected by the establishment of National SME Development Council that was in 2004, and now it has been known as National Entrepreneur and SME Development Council, a short acronym of NESDC, whereby under this NESDC, SME Corp Malaysia, under the Ministry of Entrepreneurial Development and Cooperation, has been entrusted to monitor the SME development program across ministries and agencies through what we have a program called SME, Integrated Plan of Action, short form of SMEPA. So with this strong framework that we have, in 2020 itself, the PENJANA initiative that we mentioned just now, there are 170 entrepreneurship and SME development programs with financial allocation of about 14.8 billion ringgit reported by them, the 17 ministries and more than 50 or 60 agencies to SME Malaysia which covered areas, for example, like access to financing, market access, human capital development, innovation, technology adoption, as well as infrastructure, which actually will help our SMEs when they actually like to develop their businesses. So continuous engagement as well as targets and deliverables will be monitored and will be provided to the stakeholders in terms of the scorecard report. Yeah? So these will be given to the ministers and the respective KSUs as well, so that they know where they are. So with these, the strong framework that we have, what we call is the monitoring to NEPA, we can actually manage and look into what are the short-term recovery measures, as well as the long-term recovery measures, as well as to perhaps will help to facilitate economic recovery, mainly for the SMEs. Yeah? So I believe we have that system, we have the platform, and with that reporting, that will actually give us a true reflection of where we are when it comes to SME development program.
Thank you, Rizal. The reason I asked, and the reason I say that on the measurement, because there's always complaint to us. You know, SME is very shy to go and complain to the ministry. Even agency, like PERKESO, they dare not disturb by Corp. They worry that, you know, somehow or other, you know, if they complain, they will be blacklisted or whatever. So I was thinking that if you can publish in your site, you know, especially both of your side, how could we work together with the industry? Maybe to us, a channel to you, or you can have some form of report on your site that how many numbers of applicants, you know, how many subsidy program, especially subsidy program, there are many other people complain as well. You know, they don't get their money. You know, but these are very general complaint. You can't just, you know, listen to what they say. But when the voice comes to us, they expect to hear something. So that's the reason why I asked for this, how to show them, you know, what we have done, you know, like that, like you mentioned just now, 8-something billion have been used, you know, so far under your ministry. So that is something that we should look at, right? And Rizal, one more question. Just now you talk about your soft loan with MIDF. You know, basically on PERKESO looking at human capital side, but on the business side we're looking at cash flow. Right? Besides what you have under the soft loan, any other ways that you are helping the SME on cash flows, or any other government incentive will come? Because I understand that moratorium is already end, and you have to apply separately with the bank, and most banks are not going to help. Commercial banks are definitely not going to help. So we need the government bank, government-related bank, that to do something about it. Is there any plan on that in next coming months?
Okay, I was informed by our counterpart in terms of agencies under the ministry that moratorium will be extended on case-to-case basis. Yeah. So on case-to-case basis, there a moratorium will still be extended, yeah? But depends on the bank as well. And in the Ministry of Entrepreneurial Development and Cooperatives, we have two banks here. One is the SME bank, and one Bank Rakyat. Yeah. So perhaps the SME or micro, they can actually ask respective banks, as I mentioned, for them to actually perhaps to apply for any extension in terms of moratorium, but it is based on case-to-case basis, as I mentioned. But other than that, we have under SME Corp, we have grants, as I mentioned. So grants can actually help in terms of the cash flow of SMEs. And I mentioned that now, like the BZAP grant, we actually have changed the way we do the grants before. For example, normally when you like to apply for a matching grant, you will need to propose what you want to do. So meaning that you have to actually propose and then approve. When been approved, then you will do it and you get the reimbursement of that 50% matching grant. But now it has been changed. Those 3 months project that you have implemented during the COVID-19, you can actually propose to us. We will actually review, and if it is according to the criteria, then it will be approved, and we can be reimbursable those with a maximum grant of 50%. Yeah? So that are things that we actually change. We also looking into how we can actually do more and do, with speed. Huh? So with that, we can help the SME in a way to get faster in terms of the payment as well as disbursement. The other thing, we also encourage the SMEs to be more resilient, more agile, and look at the scalability of the business itself. Because resilience, agility, and scalability will be the new focus of the businesses as they emerge from this crisis. And to become and to create a long-term resilient SME, I think as what Dato Sahar mentioned just now, SMEs need to how to adopt digitalization as well as looking into to automate their businesses so that they can become more flexible when it comes to productivity and capacity as well. Yeah. So these are things that we always say that to our SMEs, we need to digitalize, because when we actually did our study together with Huawei, that was like a year ago or a year past ago, 2 years ago, we found out that most SMEs, they are computerized but not digitalized. About 80% of them have all the devices, you name it, like computer, laptop, iPads, smartphone, whatever devices they have. But when it comes to digitalization, meaning that when you like them to adopt the function as well as the back-end system, they are only at about 20% at large. Yeah? So meaning they are still low in terms of digitalizations. Of course, we know a lot of micro enterprises, especially, they use like Facebook, Instagram, as well as YouTube or Twitter for them to do business. But that only for a very low quantity of orders. What if you receive an order like more than 100 orders, 200 orders, 1,000 orders? You can't use Instagram for you to actually handle all these orders. So they have to adopt and implement some systems, back-end systems for them to look into from A to Z, from ordering until to the payment as well as delivery. So we would like to see our SMEs to be more digitalized when it comes to this low-tax economy.
Thanks, Rizal. Okay, Dato, just now you mentioned about the micro SMEs to go digital, to have more adoption on digitization on their businesses so that to improve. I understand that you mentioned there's only about 120,000 retrenchment work. Of course, there are a lot of others, micro SMEs, which not registered with PERKESO, which not been known the numbers. So my question is, the few programs that you have, this subsidy, employment detention program, and also the hiring incentive, and also the gig economy, are they only able to get incentive when registered with PERKESO? If they are not registered PERKESO, what incentive are they eligible to apply for?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chin. For incentive to apply for wage subsidy and employment retention program, we need to have previous record of
Hello, Muhammad, you continue. So Rizal, can you give your viewpoint on this? You're mute, Rizal. You're on mute.
Okay. All right. I think the government has done a lot in terms of providing all these initiatives with allocation of money. Billions of ringgit has been allocated, and the most urgent need, as we actually mentioned earlier, is that not to question about the sufficiency or limitations of the amount, but we need to make sure all these incentives are accessible to all the SMEs in a friendly, timely, and efficient manner. So perhaps we need to analyze and look into what has been delivered so far. This is especially important in the light of the complexities surrounding the current crisis, which is unprecedented. And it is easier to say so or to measure, to identify the definitive amount of the stimulus package. And if, only if we are able to know the definite period of this crisis, because it's still ongoing, even though we can say we are, Malaysia in terms of numbers has going down, but I believe it is still in the crisis, and we still need to look into how long this will be, until I think the vaccine will be identified. Yeah? So I think this is where we don't know when it will be last, but we need to measure as it is an ongoing implementation. And we, as SME Corp, is doing that. We analyze what have been done so far, and we will perhaps report that as well. And as I mentioned, we report to our ministry in terms of our progress when it comes to PENJANA, especially for the PENJANA initiatives and activities. So, of course, government, agencies, ministries, we are discussing in terms of how it can be done. That's why some of the banks has already extended the moratoriums that I mentioned earlier on case-to-case basis to further help our SMEs per se, including the micros, so that they will not be neglected. And we know, following the survey that we did, 73% stated that they will be making laws anticipated in 2020. So we believe with this PENJANA and with the existing programs that we have, as well as under our own Ministry of Entrepreneurial Development and Cooperatives, we have our own phase 1 and phase 2 recovery plan as well, using our existing programs for them to actually use it as well as to help them. And if you don't know about it, please go to our website, smecorp.gov.my. Can also go directly to PENJANA website under MOF. And we also have one more website, what we call Info Portal. Under this Info Portal, there are a lot of initiatives, not only for SME, under SME Corp, but other ministries and agencies as well. Yeah. So please, to SME, including the micro enterprises out there, do actually contact us, yeah, either through website or through email or through our hotline numbers.
Thank you, Rizal. Very kind of you to inform all those help from SME Corp. And Dato, can you end up with your summary? You're on mute too.
Thank you, Mr. Chin. As Rizal has mentioned just now, during the pandemic COVID-19, government has allocated huge amount of fund to assist the enterprise. For me, it's the fund is unprecedented. It's, as compared to the 1998, if I can remember, during those time, government only allocated 650 million for us to handle retrenchment figures. And also in 2008, 2009 recession, only 650 million. But today we are receiving more than almost 20 billion if you total altogether, just to handle unemployment and retrenchment issue, and also to assist the employers to sustain, to what do you call it, not to retrench our workers. But for me, the most important in the future, if we are facing this kind of economic shocks in the future, we need from now to gather all the information. Data is very vital. Data for SME, especially in the informal sector, because we have around 2.8 million workers working in the informal sector, which they do not register with any establishment, for example, local authority or PERKESO or EPF. So when the government want to disperse assistance and to identify them, very difficult. So these are the segment that we need to capture all their data and establishment. And also for PERKESO, in the future, we need also to look into our legal framework. Currently, under employment insurance system, our definitions are very narrow, just confined to workers being retrenched. But moving forward, we need to also introduce provision to assist the employers in the form of, say, wage subsidy, employment retention program, and also hiring incentive using our fund. And the other point, we from the Ministry of Human Resources point of view, we need immediately to reform our employment insurance law to make it more flexible and to encompass everybody, the workers, the unemployed, and also the employers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dato. Okay, we have come to the end of the session, and we'd like to take this opportunity to thank Dato Mohd Sahar as well as Rizal for giving such informative and valuable advices and information. And we're looking forward to work closely as from SME Association and with both agencies. And then I believe all the while we have been working together. And really thank you for your very kind span of time, and then to make so much explanation to our viewer and participant here. Once again, on behalf of our organization committee, thank you very much, Dato, and thank you, Rizal. See you again.
Yeah.